Week 3, day 3. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so let's start with our last topic of lesson 3, which is ensuring knowledge transfer project continuity. Now, the first question for the group is, when we talk about knowledge transfer, what is the first thing that comes into your mind? That what is that key document that you would be producing for knowledge transfer?
Lessons learned.
Absolutely. Well done, Kate. Lessons learned. That's the key document. So remember, when you're picking up a project, a new project, or even some trouble project, sometimes you may be asked you to go and pick up a project where project manager may have left in. The first thing you want to go and look at, as lesson learned. What's been done? What's the learning I can have from there, right? So that's the key thing that you need to consider. So yeah. There's no specific deliverable in this space. There's no specific tools because this is a knowledge transfer. There are, I want to talk to you. So there are two, and again, from exam point of view, there are two types of knowledge. One is explicit knowledge, and what it is basically, which is something like, words, number, something that you can explicitly see, right, or feel, right? Something that you can document and you can share, right? So I've got a document, I've got lesson learned. This is, you can see, this is an explicit knowledge in simple English, right? The other one is tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is what's your personal knowledge, what you know, what's in your head, right? Your experience, your belief, your understanding of the concept, your insight. That's called tacit knowledge. Now it is very hard to document tacit knowledge depending on the person who has that kind of a knowledge. But from exam point of view, remember two types of knowledge: explicit, that you can document and can be shared. The other one is tacit knowledge, which is basically personal knowledge that can be difficult to articulate and share, such as belief, experience, and insight. It is not saying you cannot do it. It's just saying it is difficult for you to do share that, right? Now, you must understand, as a project manager, we all have our approaches, cultural, organization, culture background, our country culture, where we come from. So the context of the tacit knowledge is key for explicit knowledge, right? So if somebody is, if you had documenting something, let's say lesson learned, or you're doing something for your project, it would be based on your experience, right? Explicit knowledge relies a lot on your tacit knowledge and your understanding as a project manager, right? Just for something for you guys to understand. Knowledge management. So what is knowledge management? So there are three levels of knowledge management. We have individual, right? Individual level, where everybody is collaborating, everybody has a certain level of understanding. The second one is at a project level, the project that you're delivering, whatever the object is, based on what are the artifacts and documentation that you're going to create as part of that. Then in a lot of organizations, there's a concept of project management office as well. By the way, that's my field. My research is in project management office, so I'm doing PhD in project management office. And they do it as well. And finally, we have at the highest level, which is organization, right? It's basically at the top level, the focus is managing programs and portfolios. But all this knowledge management, all this knowledge management becomes part of a very significant aspect of a project manager, in a project, and project team use that to facilitate a lot of decision making. So if you remember, we talk about organizational process assets. So any knowledge management, anything that way, lesson learned, everything that will become basically part of organizational process assets. Does it make sense, guys? You guys with me? Okay. Okay. I don't think so I need to go into detail. I think you guys pretty much got this. But the biggest source of knowledge is lesson learned, right? The amount of, it's very funny, it's very interesting, in fact. Risk management is very critical, But a lot of projects and organizations, they are not good at risk management. They try to avoid risk management for one reason or the other. Project closure is very important, very critical. Right? Again, practically, we tend to focus less on project closure. Similarly, lessons learned is the key document for any project, right? Somehow, I don't know, in practical world, there's a tendency to avoid lesson learned as well because it requires time. All these things requires time and effort. And because we are so deliverable focused as project manager, we tend to avoid these things. So my ask to you guys, even during an exam and even in practical world, make sure you focus on these things as well. Yes, deliverable is important, but risk management, project closure, doing lesson learn is absolutely key. That helps you. You do it once, twice, and it will become part of your project management rhythm. So try to keep focus on it, right? Consideration for lesson learn, schedules, conflict management, anything. So you may find some uh, types there, but lesson learn is anything that you learn, good or bad, about your project. Please document it, and it's going to help you. So from exam point of view, that's the key knowledge transfer document. Um, Lesson learn register is, excuse me, okay. Basically, as the name sounds, nothing but a document that is used to record lesson learned. Nothing, no, there's no technicality about it. Lesson learned repository is a repository of historical information and lesson learned in project. So just two definitions. Remember, lessons learned register, a project document used to record knowledge gained during a project. So it can be used in the current project and entered into the lesson learned repository. And lesson learned repository is a store of historical information about lessons learned in project. You don't really have to remember the definitions by heart, but understand the concept, right? So that's something. Okay, project responsibility within the team. This is a concept that has come, what is as part of the knowledge management. What's project management? Okay, so how you manage in the project manager, several interpersonal skills that are used to manage knowledge. So these are the interpersonal skills they talk about for a project manager to use it. Leadership, facilitation, political awareness. Why do we say political awareness? Why do we say political awareness? Because to keep the project manager aware of organization political environment. But what is it? Why it is key for project manager to be politically aware of what's happening around them?
I remember seeing a table with owl, sheep. I forgot the other two, but I think the whole idea is that people have different intentions that are sitting at the table. So you need to kind of work to see who's for you, who's against you, what people are having in their mind, and that's what you mean by political awareness.
Absolutely. And always remember, uh, projects are part of organization. There are always organizational politics. So project managers are basically uh, need to deliver project in a political environment, right? There's and I don't mean that in a negative sense all the time, but there is organizational politics. So a project manager must be politically savvy. I'll put it this way, even from exam point of view, if you get the interpersonal skills, politically savvy is one of the skills that project manager must have, right? Networking, facilitation, and leadership, these are fine, but you need to be politically savvy to maneuver around the environment. Okay. Work environment expectation, pretty straightforward. Knowledge is not constant. Continuously evaluate the project environment. Um, that's a good one. Don't hoard knowledge, right? Um, what does it mean? If you remember, when we talk about the communication management plan, we talk about there are three W's. What, right? What were the three W's? You can give me the three W's of the communication.
What, when, and who.
Yeah, that's right. What, when, and who, right? And there was one H, how. So remember, when you are collecting knowledge, when you are gathering knowledge, when you're doing lesson learn, you don't just bombard your stakeholders with all the information, right? You go through your communication management plan, you see how to share your knowledge appropriately with your stakeholders. That's the key. Not everyone needs to know everything, right? Not everyone in the project needs to know where you keep lessons and what are your lessons learned are, right? It's just not. So only the people are that require that kind of information. Please send it to them. Don't send it to her. There's a very some of the project manager, there's a bad practice of sending project status or weekly status report to gazillions of stakeholders who are not even interested in your project, right? Just because they are in the organizational hierarchy. Don't do that. They're not going to use it. You're going to waste time sending information to someone who has no interest in your project or even is a stakeholder, your stakeholder. So always go with your communications management plan. Okay, fine, don't need to do that. But what I would like you to do is, if you go to activity 3-9, page 197, please. Let's spend a couple of minutes. Let's see. We'll give you 6:28. Give you 4 minutes to do that, please. If we can do 3-9. Is everybody there? Page 197. Okay. Okay. Are we good? Good. Thank you. Okay. Let's quickly do the exercise. So we're talking about scenario. So 234, the 234 West Adams project is only one of the many low-income home building projects that you will manage during the next several years. During the project, you and your project team will learn as you go with the intent of using this knowledge to improve the next project and so on for all future projects. Right? So the first question, when should transfer of knowledge take place? Okay, Kate, what do you think?
I think it should happen throughout the project.
Throughout the project, anybody else agree, disagree?
I agree.
Agree with that.
Everybody agrees? You
Agree.
sure? Okay, wonderful. That's right. Thank you very much, Kate. That's the right one. So throughout the project. Okay, what are the examples of tacit knowledge? Mariam, do you want to have a go?
First one, beliefs, experience, and insights.
Okay, anybody agrees, disagrees?
Yeah, agree.
Agree.
Agree. Yeah, agree.
Well done. You guys are nailing it now. Well done. Okay, yeah, that's right. Thank you very much, Mariam. Okay, number 3, management of project knowledge exists on 3 levels. What are they? Where's Mohammed Noor? Yeah, there he is. Mohammed Noor. Okay. Lakesh, do you want to have a go?
Yeah. Is it individual project organization?
I don't know. You are telling me. I'm asking you.
Yeah, B. That's what I thought.
Okay. Who agrees?
I agree.
Agree.
Okay, everybody agrees. Well done. Thank you, Lakesh. Thanks, man. Sorry, man. I just want to keep a little bit, project management is dry. If you don't have a bit of a fun, you're gonna all go to sleep. Don't want that. Okay. Number 4. When is the lesson learned register created? Okay. Carlo, you want to try?
At the beginning of the project.
Oh, really? Okay. Let me first ask who agrees and disagrees.
Agree.
Okay. I confuse a
Agree.
lot of people, by the way. Okay. No, well done, Carlo. That's right. At the beginning of the project. You remember, if the knowledge is transfer takes place throughout the life of the project, then you need to have a lesson register, at the start of the project. So good. Number 5, who is ultimately responsible for transferring knowledge learned during the project? Stephanie, what do you think?
All stakeholders.
All stakeholders. Okay, good. Who agrees, disagrees?
Agreed.
Okay.
Disagree.
Okay, Mohammed Noor disagrees. Okay. What do you think, Mohammed Noor?
Well, it's funny. I don't know why, but I just felt the word ultimately. Ultimately, that's put me maybe going towards project manager.
Okay. So is this an answer or a question? I'm the guy asking the question, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think because of that word ultimately, I'm taking my answer to project manager.
Okay. Okay. Let's go. So how many of you, I think you guys can do thumbs up. So, you can, I'm pretty sure I just saw, I know Lakesh can show us. Yeah. Okay. How many of you agree with Stephanie says all stakeholders? So Abdullah, who else? No one
I do a thumbs up here.
Abdullah, how do we get thumbs up?
Just on the bottom right corner, right next to the leaf button, there's a reaction.
Oh, I got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so who agrees? So give me a thumbs up for who agrees that all stakeholders is the right answer. Oh, there are quite a few who are citing it. It just it looks like Mohammed Noor has influenced you guys. He's got a pretty good influencing power.
Yeah, I think he's got a point.
He's got a very valid point. That's right. So thank you very much, Stephanie and Mohammed Noor. Yes, because it does mean, because remember, lesson learned, if everybody starts adding information, the lesson learned, then, there will be a lot of information, irrelevant information. So it's the job of the project manager to make sure the information is properly transferred. So it's the project manager.
Perfect.
Well done, guys. Good job. Good job. Well done. Okay.
Just for the lessons learned register created at the beginning of the project, if the project was not executed, then the lessons learned register just not ceases to exist, but it just stored away as an artifact, right?
Yeah, that's right. So lesson learned is always there. So once the project, so you would, okay, hang on a second. You would start a lesson learned the moment you start a project. You won't start a lesson learned during, when there's been discussion going on. Once the project, so what does project charter do at the beginning? It authorizes a project manager to start a project. Once the project charter is signed, the first thing project manager should do, one of the first things, I don't mean the first thing, but one of the first things the project manager should do is create a lesson learned, put it in the repository, and start adding the information as the project moves along. If the project ceases, that's the end. And that decision goes into the lesson learned why the project is cancelled. What caused the project to be cancelled? So the next time when anybody is looking at it, they can look at it. Oh, okay, because of this reason, the project was cancelled.
Okay, that makes some sense. Yeah.
Okay. No worries. Good. Okay, let's talk about. So, guys, we're going to do a lot of interactive activities now. So, the next chapter, which is lesson 4, is about keeping the team on track. Now, the topics we are going to talk about is lead a team, support team performance, address and remove impediments, obstacles and blockers, manage conflict, collaborate with stakeholders, mentor relevant stakeholders, and apply emotional intelligence to promote team performance. Okay, that is very, very important, right? These are the things that we're going to discuss. But I don't want to just discuss like this. I want you guys to help me with it, right? So when we talk about lead a team, right? Let's start with the first topic, which is lead a team, right? Okay. What do you mean by lead a team? What do you mean by lead a team? What does it mean? So let's start from the who I've got at the top. So Carlo, what do you mean by lead a team? So if you're a project manager, how would you lead a team?
I think it's by influencing people positively to contribute towards the project goals, for example, and have a good engagement from the team.
Mhm.
That's some of the skills of being a good leader, I guess.
Okay, good. So you're going to do influence, right? What
Yep.
else? What else?
Keeping the team engaged towards the same goal.
Mhm. Okay.
For what else? Promoting collaboration within the group.
Mhm. Good.
Trying
Okay.
to avoid like obstacles throughout the development of the project.
Mhm.
Taking the ownership of like those barriers, for example, and try to overcome them within the group. These kind of things.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Kate, based on what number one, do you agree with Carlo? That's the number one question.
Yes, I do.
Kate is saying, "Oh, I have to remember what he said, huh?"
No. I mean, yeah, in general, I agree.
Okay. So the reason I asked you, I want you to think like what Carlo was telling us. What qualities or what skills would you need to do that? You know, as an effective leader, what skills would you need?
Well, the leader should definitely be people's person.
People person, okay.
Should have some good developed soft skills,
Mhm.
you know, communication skills, empathy, probably.
So what is that? Sorry,
Empathy.
empathy. It's good. Really good. Really good. So when we say soft skills, what is that called? Give me an example of soft skills.
Good question.
Yeah.
All right. What do we normally say by soft skills?
That's fine. Let
Listening
me ask
to,
somebody else. Let
yeah.
me throw this to somebody else. So Marisa is intently is listening to us. So let's ask her. Marisa, what do you think? What the soft skills are? Just give it. Right. This is a discussion, right? This is what, and this is going to help you remember for the exam. To be honest, that's what I'm doing.
Should I say political awareness is a soft skill?
That can be absolutely right. Understanding the culture. So I would put it in a different understanding the culture, culturally awareness. Right. Give me one more. What else?
Listening skills.
Listening skills, communication skills. That's a soft skill, right? Communication skill, negotiation skills, right? Negotiation, communication. What else? One more. Okay, Abdullah, give me one more soft skill.
Problem solving.
Problem solving, conflict resolution, right? You know, that's your job as a leader. You're leading a team. What does a team do, right? Think about political leaders in the country. Let's look at the prime minister. Let's look at an example, a very good example of Jacinda Ardern, right? You guys in New Zealand. You know, everybody is appreciating how she responded to COVID or the massacre that happened in Christchurch. What did she show? What quality did she show? What quality did she show? Who can tell me? Stephanie?
Empathy?
empathy, right? Understanding, emotional intelligence. She knew the people are in pain, right? Whether it was, what happened at Christchurch or even with COVID, people are in pain. She stepped up, showed people that I care, right? So this is something I want you guys to think about. She showed people I care for you more than anything else, right? And I'm keeping the politics aside. I don't know New Zealand politics, right? So I don't know. And by all means, I don't, if there are supporters or non-supporters, I don't mean that. I'm just giving you an example of the leadership, right? So, the concept of I care and I care more for you than I do is called servant leadership. And that is the key leadership style in agile environment. In agile environment, you would have a scrum master, you may have a project manager as well. But the concept is, what can I do for you? Oh my God. Sorry. I get a lot of telecalls if my Skype is on, seriously. And so the concept in agile, the leadership concept in agile environment is, there are called cross-functional teams. Everybody is responsible for each other. Everybody is, in order to thrive, if you need to have a collaborative environment. So there's a trust in the leadership. So servant leadership is someone who says, listen to me, I'm here to serve you, servant. I'm here to serve you. You tell me. So remember, the key leadership skill in agile environment is servant leadership. Okay? Any questions? Just trying to see if I missed anything. Okay. The other thing is, again, from exam point of view. Now, I'll take example of this class. So I asked you guys about, what do you guys think about the delivery of the course, right? And you guys gave me some feedback, thank you very much, Lakesh. Oh, we are enjoying the course. What if you were not enjoying the course? What would you say? If the course delivery, maybe if I'm just reading from the book, what would you say? The person has no knowledge of the subject, right? Anybody can read from the book, right? But to pass on the knowledge, you don't read from the book, you also use your practical experience. So another skill that project manager must have is own knowledge and basically command over the subject. So people expect project manager. So remember, from exam point of view, project manager is expected to have a knowledge. So that's called, you understand, we talked about project management. So people expect project manager to have some sort of knowledge of the project or the environment, the project management skill, right? That is also very influencing, right? If we get somebody who doesn't know anything about project management and ask that person to teach project PMP, you won't be happy at all, because the person doesn't know anything about it. So similarly in the project, remember, the projects are delivered by the people for the people. So we are always interacting with the people, right? So that. The other skill that is very key skill is negotiating. So projects are usually done in a matrix environment. Now, before I go to do you guys know what is a matrix environment? What is a matrix organization? And this is from exam point of view. What is a matrix organization?
A company that maybe organization that is measuring its performance throughout the life cycle of the project.
No, not really. Okay. Okay, I'm going to come back to you. So homework for you guys for next week. 3 things. I want you guys to read PMBOK chapter 2, I think 2 or 3. Read about functional organizational structure. Read about organizational structure. So there's a organizational structure, functional organization. There's a projectized organization, and there's a matrix organization. Then within matrix, there's a
weak matrix organization.
Weak matrix, I forgot.
Yeah,
and
fine.
Strong matrix, right?
Balanced matrix organization.
Okay. And Abdullah will explain us what the matrix organization is now.
Oh, you got me on that. Okay. So to define that, probably we need to define the functional organization first. So the function, yeah. So the functional organization would be some sort of a very hierarchical organization, very hierarchical and very rigid in terms of the designations and all that stuff. Very probably you could think of any bureaucratic style of organization, like probably some government organizations. And the matrix organization would be probably something like which is more focused towards the project. So would have of course functional managers and the project managers as well. So the then there's a balance and imbalance of the powers, which makes it weak balance or strong, weak matrix or strong matrix or balanced matrix organization. Yeah.
Okay. So you pretty much nailed it. I think I just realized it probably best for me to a bit off track, but I think this is important that you guys have a feel for it. So I'm gonna quickly. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Nope.
Okay, so this is from, oh, you can't. Oh, because I stopped. Okay. So this is from my course that I run, Introduction to Project Management. Okay. So there are 3 types of basically organizations. So functional. We've got functional. We're going to talk about what there is. Metrics, which is weak, balanced, and strong, and then the projectized. Now, it is important for a project manager to have a full understanding of the culture, because without that, it will probably be very difficult for project management to function. Now, what is a functional organization? It's a hierarchical with one clear supervisor. So employees are grouped by specific area. I think like was saying, in departmental wise, and the resources from project point of view, the resources are not really 100% assigned to the project, and they may be assigned part-time to the project, right? And in functional organization, this is from exam point of view, guys. I'm giving you exam information. From exam point of view, also remember, project manager has no or very little authority if the project is being done in a functional environment, right? The budget of the project is managed by the functional manager. So project managers are not really project managers. They're probably more like project coordinators, and someone who's helping the project and not really fully dedicated to the project, right? So that's the key key aspect of the functional, right? So what you would have is in functional organization is a kind of a hierarchical structure. You have department wise, if you look at that. So under finance, you would have finance staff, sales staff, IT staff, and so on and so on. Everybody would be in their own hierarchical silo. Okay, so that's a functional organization. Then we have a metrics organization. Now there are 3 types of metrics. We're going to talk about it, but what metrics is? Project manager, again, from exam point of view, the project manager's authority increases from weak to the strong metrics. So weak metrics is very close to functional organization, and strong metrics is very close to projectized organization. And in between is a middle, is a balanced organization, right? Now, in metrics organization, project manager and resources are assigned part-time for weak and balanced, and full-time on a strong metrics environment. Okay. I can send you guys this slides if you like. I can send you, this is not only in your book, but I can send you guys so that you can use this. But I want you guys to have an understanding of resource availability increases from low to moderate to full-time in a metrics organization. And this is, these are all exam points. I want you guys to focus on exam points, right? The number 1 authority of the project manager increases from lowest to highest. So project manager has lowest authority, little authority in weak metrics, good authority in balanced metrics, and full authority in strong metrics. Okay, Strong matrix is very close to projectized organization. Weak matrix is pretty much very close to functional organization. But what that is basically, in matrix organization, budget is managed by the project, right? Again, think from weak to strong. You know how this is, right? Like I said, weak matrix is very close to functional organization. So in weak matrix, functional manager may be managing the project. And in the strong matrix, it will be project manager who would be using, right? The biggest challenge with matrix organization is that is a two boss syndrome. So the resources are assigned to the project, especially in a weak matrix, resources are assigned to a project, but they are not really directly reporting into project manager, right? So the project manager spend a lot of time communicating and negotiating for the resources, right? In that situation, the conflict resolution skill comes into the picture. Okay, there's a conflict of authority between functional manager and project manager. So consider a situation where you need a resource from design team, and you need to get your job done, design job, and you can't get it because your functional manager is not releasing it. The other thing is the advantage of this matrix organization, the resources go back to their original department at the conclusion of the project. Okay. Now, a simple example of matrix organization is that, you know, they're just example of two projects. They are somewhat hierarchical, but project is doing this project. They are assigned to the project. So staff from different departments are assigned to the project. Okay.
Waheen,
Yeah.
is that correct if I say, for example, that a strong matrix is like a startup company, for example?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Like a company which is not like well established yet, and for example, one person is doing like several like tasks at the same time, for example?
No, that's not the concept. So you're talking about strong metrics?
Yes, strong metrics. Yeah.
Strong metrics is very close to project organization. So what is a projectized organization? Project-oriented or projectized organization is where teams work on projects, and they're dedicated teams working on the projects. They're assigned to the project. Project manager owns the responsibility to managing the team and budgeting for the end-to-end responsibility of the project. At the end of the project, the resources are released. Either they are released from the organization or they're passed on to the other project, right? But that's the concept. It doesn't have to be a startup company already. Resources have basically they have only one boss, which is project manager.
Got it.
They are responsible. Project manager is responsible for their, you know, is their line manager as well and functional manager as well. So both hiring, firing, reward, recognition, everything goes to project manager in projectized organization, right? Does it make sense? No.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
You know, there's not a perfect model. The challenge, one of the challenge with projectized environment is, right, if the project is, let's say, 12 months long, at the end of the 12 months, resources, there's no money in the project. The resources that are hired to do the project will have to let go unless there's some other work for them. So people can get very, you know, that's where the contract workforce has come into place.
Got it.
People may feel very anxious, you know, no jobs and so on and so forth. But the advantage of project-oriented organization is, what do you think is the biggest advantage of project-oriented organization? Right? So if you're dedicated to a project, you have a high degree of responsibility and accountability, right? Because that's the only thing you're doing. In a functional organization, what you're doing is you're doing your functional role as well, and you're, you know, part-time associated with the project. So, you know, you can always get away. Oh, by the way, I'm doing something else. You know, you can tell your functional manager, and that happens. Oh, I was doing project work. That's why I'm get delayed. You may be sleeping, right? And you can tell your project manager, I was doing my functional work. That's why the task get delayed, right? Again, you may be sleeping, right? But in project-oriented organization and projectized organization, you can't do that. You're assigned to the work. You have to do that. Let's take an example of this course. This is a very project-oriented delivery. My job is to give you this course. deliver this course. I cannot say, oh, hang on a second, guys, I need to go do something else for 15 minutes and then I'll come back. So that's a very dedicated. What happens at the end of the course? If I don't have another course, I don't have another course. If I have another course, well, then good. Do you get it? That's the concept. So, okay, I'll show you this as well. So in project-oriented organization, project manager basically owns the entire. So instead of silos, the project basically owns the skills. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought I'll share that with you because I think that is a good way to show you guys. I don't need that. Okay. We've pretty much done the topic A, by the way, just so that you know. I'm going to give you guys exercise. The whole idea of this was for you guys to understand how this works. Okay. Okay. What else? Okay. We talked about servant leadership. We talked about leadership. Okay. How many of you are familiar with power influence grid?
Sorry, come again. What was that? Power influence?
Yeah, sorry guys, just need to, sorry, something happened. Just give me a sec. Power influence grid. Have you guys ever heard about power influence grid?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, no dramas. Anybody else? Anyone? Okay, no dramas. Okay, so we talked about this. We talked about. Okay, that's a very good one. Leadership style, strong personal. We talked about this. Leadership is not management. Leadership is not equal to management. Get this. This is very important. That leadership is not equal to management. People follow leaders. People willingly follow leaders, but managers force people to follow them. There's a difference between the two. Okay. We talked about servant leadership. 4 key skills of servant leadership: facilitate, provide, support, and get the focus on doing the work. Right? They facilitate rather than manage. They provide coaching and training. They remove work impediments and they focus on accomplishment rather than, saying, you haven't done this. Okay. Okay. Challenge the status quo. I'll leave it with you. It's always good for us as a project manager to challenge the status quo. And what does that mean? That means, you look at this lesson learned, you gain some guidance there, but you don't blindly follow what's in the lesson learned. You do look into what's the right way to do things in your current project, right? You should not be blindly following whatever you find in the historical information or what you find in the lesson learned. So you need to challenge why they were. So let's say if something in the lesson says they were not able to do it because of this and this, you should focus on why that is not possible. What can I do to avoid this again? So have ideas and perspective. So this is just one way of saying, as part of your project management role, you should challenge the status quo. Okay, what is an influence matrix, right? What is an influence matrix? What is this? It's nothing. It's basically partially on your influence and the influence of other project stakeholders, right? Influence goes in many ways. We talk about senior management. As a project manager, you need to have a certain level of influence, right? You may be very junior in the hierarchical organizational hierarchy, but your your stakeholders are, could be, way up in the hierarchy, could be way down in the hierarchy. You may be dealing with the external parties, and you may be dealing with your peers as well. So you need to have some sort of a skills to make sure you build those relationships. These are all project management leadership skills, right? You need to have how you can manage and lead stakeholders of different groups. So you need to have a bit of an influencing skills, right? Now, salience, and I always get struggle with this salience model, classification model is used to distinguish influence based on prioritization, urgency, and other aspects. What does it mean? You guys remember we did affinity diagram? Do you remember what was affinity diagram? We did the grouping of the ideas, right? Salience model is basically grouping of the stakeholders based on how you need to manage them. That's what it is, right? That's what it is only, right? You normally use this approach when you're doing your stakeholder engagement assessment. You want to figure out, who's the person with the right authority in my stakeholders. Who do I need at a certain time, right? So you need to have that kind of an understanding. So this model helps you get that kind of information, right? You want to define, when would you need these guys, these certain stakeholders in your project. So, and how appropriate their involvement would be. So you use this salience model to use that. Abdullah, how do you pronounce this? You have an American accent, right?
Probably salience.
Salience. Okay. I'm going with what Muhammad Noor said. You have got an American accent, so we'll use them, right? This is an American English. Okay. Then we have power grid. Do you guys? How many of you guys are familiar with power grid? You know what power grid is? Power interest grid. Okay. Please remember this figure. This is absolutely important, right? And this is very useful in your normal project. I would ask you to use this, draw this for your stakeholders. So if you look at it, it's very simple. It's on y-axis you have power, and on x-axis you have interest, and it's just 4 quadrant, right? Quadrant 1 or Q monitor is basically so the middle, the information that you see, monitor, keep. This is the technique you need to use for your stakeholders, communication technique you need to use for your stakeholders who fall into these quadrants, right? So if you have someone who have low power and low interest in your project, you just keep them involved. You don't need to spend a lot of time on them because they can't influence anything. They have a it's also called power influence grid, by the way, as well. It's called power influence or power interest grid, right? But if you have someone who has got high power and high interest in your project, you want to make sure you manage them closely. You probably want to have a weekly face-to-face meeting with them, right? You understand where what is this model is helping? This model is helping you identify how you're going to approach your stakeholders. What approach should you use to manage your stakeholders, right? Right? It's a very good practice, and I've been doing it for a long time. I use this it takes 5 minutes, literally takes 5 minutes. You draw this and you start putting the name where you think the other people are, your key stakeholders, especially your key stakeholders. Now, imagine someone who has high power but low interest. They have one of that. So you want to make sure, because they have high power but they have low interest. CEO, he or she may not be interested in the project because for them, this is just like any other project. So you need to make sure they are fully engaged, and you need to focus on them so that basically you want to make sure these high power, low interest should become high power, high interest. The idea is to make sure that everybody is fully focused, the key stakeholders are fully focused, and you use them for the benefit of the project. Does it make sense, guys? Okay. Questions?
Yeah, I've got a question, sorry. So when you're saying manage closely, would you mean that you have to like do all of the other stuff, like keeping them satisfied, keeping them informed,
No. So
monitor them?
manage closely means, so let me give you an example. Manage closely means you need to make sure they are fully involved and engaged on the project. So you don't want to give them any surprises. You want to probably, like I said, you probably want to have a weekly face-to-face session with them or call with them, keeping them apprised of the updated on the project status, because they have the high power and high interest, right? They may be your sponsors. Basically, your sponsors will fall into this category, right? You want them, you want to be really good friends with them because you need to use them for the benefit of the project, right? If you need to build your relationship with people in high power, high interest, because if you don't have a good relationship with people in high power, high interest, then you probably use the support that you have, right? Imagine a situation where somebody in this orange quadrant, high power, high interest, falls into high power, low interest. That means you're gonna start to have less support for your project from that person, right? So manage closely means you want to keep them fully informed of what's happening in the project.
Yeah,
right?
thank you.
Spend more time. I would spend less time in somebody who's in quadrant one, in monitor stage, because I'm just thinking, okay, I'm just monitoring this. This is a good stakeholder. I don't need to spend it, but manage closely. I want to focus on that person a lot. These are some of the techniques, basically. Okay, don't think so. I need to. Okay, one of the techniques, I think we talked about team building techniques. So one of the things I do want to talk about is the impact of reward and recognition. And this is something I think we tend to ignore at times. One of the powers of project manager is a reward power. Reward power. So where project manager has the power to reward the team based on, or stakeholders, basically team based on their performance. So reward and recognition is basically, reward is tangible, consumable items, given as a result of reaching a specific outcome or achievement, right? Definitely start and finish or fixed time, usually expected when goal is met. When you reach a certain milestone, you can do this to motivate your team. That's what your reward is, right? Then you have recognition, intangible, experimental events. This is more like maybe recognizing someone, right? You've done a great job. Again, both are used to keep them motivated. So the difference between reward is tangible, recognition is intangible, right? It's pretty straightforward, right? At times, organization use recognition. They give a certificate, so you can argue that this is a tangible thing, but it is still intangible, right? So that's think from that point of view. Okay, can I ask you guys to go to activity 4-1, please? Four-1. Let's have a quick view of the activity, please. Five minutes. Okay, shall we? Okay, let's quickly do the activity. Abdullah, can you please read the scenario if you don't mind? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So the scenario is a seasoned project manager is leading a software project commissioned to update an existing tool used by the business to manage their inventory and stock rooms. The business is anxious to get parts of the new system and its new user interface in the hands of their inventory staff at facilities worldwide. They are frustrated that after a couple of months, there is no sign of progress. Your development team is worried because they don't think the business understands the behind the scenes back-end work required. Additionally, the development team is delayed because the design team is taking a long time researching and making their prototypes and images perfect.
Thank you. Let's do the first question.
Yeah, what benefit, if any, is there for the project manager to get all the various stakeholders groups, the inventory staff, the developers, and the design team to understand the project's vision and mission?
Okay, let's debate this. What do you think, Stephanie?
Well, they could be aligned and then aware of the deadlines that each department needs to accomplish.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. What do you think, Marisa? What's your view on it?
Yeah, so I think just to the benefit is to get the development team to understand what the customer actually needs, which is the business, and the users, which are the inventory staff. Because reading the scenario, the business want the new software to manage the inventory and stock rooms. So essentially it doesn't need a perfect image. And then the developing team is fussing about, they want to perfect their image, but inventory and stockroom doesn't need. Yeah, so basically balancing out to give understanding to the development team what's the customer needs or what the customer wants, really.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. No, thank you. So basically, even Stephanie, you were right as well. So basically, building a common understanding of what needs to be achieved and why that is required. What's the benefit of doing that? So I think that is important. That's why the question was about vision and mission. If everybody is, like I said, if there's no common vision, then everybody is doing the task they think that is right thing to do, but they may not have a common focus. So it is important to have a same focus. So it's good. So thank you very much. Kate, do you want to do question 2, please?
Yes, sure. So what can a project manager do to bridge the gap between business and development? Choose 3. Okay. So I was thinking about the first 2 and the last one.
Okay, first 2 and the last one. And you think the third one is incorrect?
Yeah, I guess I'm not quite sure, but I guess analyzing the gap by the business.
Yeah, what do you think, Lakesh? That's fine. No dramas.
Yeah, thinking about it.
That's all right. No dramas. Muhammad Noor?
I agree with Kate. I feel the same. Yeah, I feel the same.
You have to give me a reason for that, my friend, more than that.
All right, then let me give you a bit of a reason that I can think of. It's really important to have a communication. That is really good. That is how we can bridge the gap.
Yep.
And collaboration is there to develop the team. It is all about how we can bring 2 main teams to one place with the same goal. So for that reason, I think that is where we go to. Thank you very much.
Well done. You're absolutely. So what you've done is you've nailed it. So if you look at the correct answer, so Kate, you were right. It's the number 3 is incorrect. The other 3 are correct. The other three talk about communicate and collaboration. And in order to bridge a gap between anything, you need to communicate and collaborate. So that's what you do it. So well done. Stephanie, do you want to do third, please?
Yeah. Which best represents the 7 leadership style of the project manager? She takes care of administrative reporting when the team is focused and on a roll.
Okay. Okay. Carlo, do you agree with that?
In my opinion, the fourth one is the correct one, Fahim.
Okay,
Takes care of the administrative reporting when the team is focused and on a roll.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Mariam? What do you think? Which one is the correct one?
I agree on the fourth one. Correct. She takes care.
Okay, no, thank you. So why is the fourth one correct? So remember, the concept of the servant leadership is putting team before I. So help them succeed rather than, guide them all the time and or do, tell them to go and do this rather than ordering them. So help them succeed. So if they're busy with something, you pick up something and do it as well. So yeah, that's good. So number 4 is correct. Thank you. And the last one is, in their extensive research, the design team discovers that inventory staff enter a lot of information that is never used by any of their activities or by any other team. When the inventory staff is asked why that information is kept, the response was, we just always have. Pretty common these days, right? No one knows why. How is challenging the status quo going to support the project's aim of delivering value? Okay, Abdullah, let's hear it from you, my friend.
I was still thinking on that, but I think too much information, of course, would leave someone directionless. Yeah, so far this much so far.
No, that's fine. That's good. What about you, Carlo? What do you think?
I think in a case like this, for example, to make the team rethink about what they are currently doing, for example, to challenge the status quo and make the team like rethink, not only, I'm doing that because we've been doing that for a while. I think that that's the role of leadership here.
Yeah, you're basically challenging them, guys. Yeah, I understand whether you guys have been doing it for a long time, but why are you doing it? What makes it?
Why? Yeah.
Do we really need to do it? So yeah, that's exactly the point. So the idea is to help them also think. The idea of the role of a leader is to help team think rather than just go and do it, right? So that's good. Well done, guys. What I want to do is I'm going to jump to topic C first before coming back to, and we'll go come back to topic B after the break. Topic C is pretty straightforward. It's very small, and I want to have a chat with you guys about it rather than go through the topic. So it talks about, topic C talks about address and remove impediments, obstacles, and blockers.
Sorry, Fahim, for that last question.
Sure.
Just a quick, can you apply a little bit of maybe lean perspective on that as well, in the sense of how is challenging the status quo to support the project's aim of delivering value? Because we're trying to maybe minimize the waste. Can you say that? Like, we're trying to minimize the waste and we're trying to maximize, like, we don't want to have any redundant features in the output of the product. So we're trying to maximize the value by reducing the waste. And this is one way the project manager can do that.
Absolutely. Well done. Absolutely. Right. The whole concept of, for people who don't know, the whole concept of lean approach is to reduce the waste, right? And yes, so if I'm doing a project and if I'm getting a resource to do something, but they're doing something which they don't know why they're doing it, and you don't see any benefit, or you're going to stop that. You're going to ask them, guys, what are you doing? Absolutely. So yes, you can, in a situation like this, you can by all means use a lean approach, right? It's a wastage of resource. Absolutely. You don't need that. Good, Rakesh, well done.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So the next topic is, like I said, I'm going to skip B and we'll go back to B after a break. But what is address and remove impediment, obstacle, and blockers? So how do agile team address impediments and blockers, what is one ceremony they do that helps them look at that on a regular basis?
Sprint review.
Okay, so number one, let's refresh. What are the ceremonies? How many ceremonies? How many sprints? How many agile ceremonies that we have? Scrum ceremony in the Scrum environment. How many?
4.
Four.
Okay, good. What's the first one? Go. Let's give me in sequence, please. What's the first one? No, Carlo, you can't look into your book.
No, I'm not looking. I'm just, I'm on topic C.
That's
Gotcha.
who keep the video closed, and I don't know what
Gotcha.
okay, what do you think? What's the first one, guys? Seriously, what's the first one?
Sprint plan.
Sprint planning. Sprint planning is the first one. Kate, what's the second one? It's fine. That's fine.
Lost it.
Fine. So
Sorry, I lost it.
that's fine. So this is important that you guys remember this, right? So the sprint plan. Who can give me the second one? Who can give me the second one?
Daily stand-up.
Daily stand-up or daily
yeah.
scrum? Yeah, daily stand-up or daily scrum. What's the third one?
Retrospective.
Sprint, retro or retrospective, yeah. And the final?
I can't remember.
Hang on a second. So
Final is retro, isn't it?
hang on a second. Is retro the third one or the final one?
Final one, final.
Exactly. So what did we miss? What did we miss?
Demo.
Demo.
Sprint review. Yeah.
Sprint review or demo. So, and this is the way to remember this. This is a very simple way. So let me just, so sprint planning. So you need to plan something before you do, right? So that's sprint planning. Remember, like, listen, if you guys just focus on for 2 minutes, you will remember it all the time. Before you do anything, you need to plan. So sprint planning. Then you need to execute. What is daily stand-up doing? You're executing. You're getting a daily stand-up status. That's during execution. Then you're reviewing. What are you doing? Sprint review. At the end of your execution, you're reviewing your deliverable. You're demoing your deliverable to the client. And finally, your retro or retrospective, where you're going through and looking back to see how did you deliver. Excuse me. How did you perform? So this, if you think from logical point of view, it will make sense, right? Okay. Which ceremony of all these ceremony where the team regularly reviews the obstacles and impediments?
Retrospective.
I think it is on the
Probably daily scrums.
daily scrums, yeah.
Daily scrum. So Kate, let's look at, so what do we do retrospective? What we do
Oh,
is,
right. No, sorry. I probably misunderstood you. So you're not talking about like what went wrong, but you're looking at what doesn't allow me to go forward, right?
exactly.
All right.
Impediments,
Okay.
right? So obstacle, what are the blockers? So what is the key thing we do in daily scrum or daily stand-up? 3 things. What did I do yesterday? What I'm working today? And what are the obstacles or impediments or blockers that I have today to complete the activity? Okay, so that's the one. So impediment is nothing but a blocker, and it could be anything, you know. Give me an example of an impediment, Homadur, in a project.
Is that a blocker? Is that the same thing? Obstacle is the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay. So probably a supplier couldn't deliver a product that I needed on time, on the schedule. So yeah.
Well done, right? Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fine. Now, so now you know what are blockers. We are not just managed. So let's take an example of what Mohammed Noor gave us. He said his project thinks they won't be able to deliver the supplies on time, right? Okay. So this is for people, for all those people who have got their video closed. I'm going to ask you guys again. Where would you track these things? So if you know an obstacle, what is another terminology we have used recently where in terms of obstacles and impediments or something? So let's go to Lakesh. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm just looking through my notes trying to find it.
No, just don't think about the notes. This is what I'm saying. If you go back to the notes, then you're thinking about what I wrote. So in a project, you have an obstacle, right? Where would you record that obstacle or a blocker or
The risk plan, risk management plan.
risk? Yeah,
Register,
risk.
sorry.
But hang on a second.
Risk register or lesson issue.
Oh, issue
Sorry.
log. Issue log.
Okay, so hang on. So let's get this right. Impediment or blocker. So we are now talking about two types of impediment. One that can happen and one that has happened. The one that can happen will go into the risk register because that's a risk. The one that you're facing is going to go into the issues register because that's the issue.
Issue log.
Issues log, right? Rakesh, did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So I just want you guys to think now. There's a statement here that impediments may be due to a result of project risk or issues, right? Risks that are raised during the daily stand-up meeting, iteration reviews, and other meetings, right? It's just another way of explaining this. Okay. Are you guys with me? Okay. Now, we also talk about, and this is why I'm doing this. I'll basically summarize the entire chapter with you guys, right? But I want you guys to think about it. We talked about in yesterday, then we are looking at the risk that we would use qualitative risk analysis, which is probability and impact, to do what? So there are two analyses of the risk. One is qualitative and another was quantitative. So quantitative was done to get a numerical value, a qualitative impact or exposure of the risk, quantitative exposure of the risk. What do we use qualitative risk analysis for? So we use probability impact assessment. What does it give us?
The process.
So
an efficiency of the process, the quality itself.
Yeah, but what does it give you? What do you get out of the qualitative risk analysis?
Likelihood and the strength of the impact.
Yes. So yes, strength of the impact, probability and likelihood, and it helps. It helps you to identify which risk is going to impact you more, which is going to impact you less, and so on and so forth. When is the risk going to happen? Is that right? Are you guys with me?
The categorization of the risks, rather, yeah.
If I have the information, and Marissa, I'm going to ask this question for you. So if I have the information on all the risks, when they're going to happen, when they can happen, and what impact they would have, what would this help me do it? And this is an exam question. So I have a risk register, sorry, which has all the identified risks, right? So I have the list of risk in front of me. It tells me when that certain risk, what is the probability and impact of each risk. So what am I going to do with that information? What is the one thing that I want to do with that information?
You can prioritize the risk.
Prioritize. Absolutely. The focus of qualitative risk analysis is to prioritize high severity risk. That's what you want to focus on, right? Similarly, when you are going through the impediments and obstacles and everything, you have to prioritize what you're going to sort first. Are you guys with me? Yes? No?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Impediment, an obstacle that prevents the team from achieving its objectives. Okay. Situation, I don't think so. I need to explain that. I think you guys can read it. Blockers reference events or condition that cause stoppage in the work or any further advancement. Now, impediments, obstacles, blockers are more agile focused terminologies. Okay. Risk and issues are more traditional waterfall approach. Same concept, same approach, but when we talk about impediments, obstacles, blockers, these are more agile focused terminologies. Is it okay with you guys? But that's why I was trying to marry it up with the concept with the risk and issue so that you guys understand, right? But because this PMBOK exam would basically mix and match and marry, do different terms. I want to make sure if you're looking at impediments or your blockers is basically your issues, right? That's going to stop your work. So I want to make sure you guys understand. And backlog, what is a backlog, guys? What is a backlog? Come on, you guys are up for break. The quicker you give me the answer, the quicker we can go on the break. What is a backlog?
Tasks that need to be done.
The
List of tasks.
the list. So give me an agile, Muhammad Noor. Give me what is a backlog in agile? Yeah. What is it? What are the items in the backlog called? Mariam?
Oh, sorry.
Right. What are the items in the backlog called? Backlog items, PBIs, backlog items, or we also have features or user stories in the backlog. So there's a product backlog and there's a sprint backlog. You remember that? Okay. This is important. You guys focus on these terminologies. Terminologies are going to be very critical for you when you are looking at the, you're going for the exam. We talked about daily stand-up. I don't think I need to explain you. Tracking impediments, we talked about that as well. Okay, how do we track issues? How do we track issues in Agile? So remember, Agile is very visual focused, right? Okay, how do we track Agile issues in Agile, right? You remember we talked about boards, yeah?
Kanban board.
Task board, Kanban boards, or Scrum boards. We use these things to focus on what we are doing, what has been done, and so on and so forth, right? So the board. So remember, Agile is very visual focus. Okay. Okay. Talk about this. Explain that. Okay, let's quickly do, it's just 2 questions, there are 3 questions. Activity 4-4, please, page 224, please. Okay, let's quickly do it. Then I think you guys are up for break. The project you're working on require cross-functional teams to work together to roll out a new system to be used organization-wide. Most of the teams and departments have never worked together. Now, number one, what does it tell you? What kind of a project is this? Is this agile or it is a waterfall? What do you think? It says you are working, the project you are working on require cross-functional teams to work together.
More agile.
Sorry? Agile. Agile is the environment where cross-functional teams work together, right? As a team, right? Okay. So the question is, the procurement department needs to acquire the equipment from a third-party vendor, but cannot finalize the details of the RFP until the finance department releases the budget. What is RFP?
Request for proposal?
Request for proposal, good. The IT department cannot install and configure any of the equipment, causing them to be at a standstill in this project. The Education Services Department continues to build training content, although progress is slow because details on the processes are constantly being updated. That's another hint that it's an agile thing. It's being continuously be changes, right? Based on the information provided, what would you consider an impediment, obstacle, and blocker? What do you guys think? What is a blocker? Just keep it first tip. What is a blocker?
Equipment.
Yeah, so IT department cannot install. That's a blocker. That's it. That's a blocker, right? What is an obstacle? What is the obstacle? Like, what is the challenge?
RFP?
Yeah, that's right. They cannot finalize until they get the finance department to release the budget. So getting the budget is a blocker, right? And what is obstacle? Sorry. And what is the impediment? What is delaying? What is causing the delay? What is delaying?
Third-party vendor.
Yeah, final decision on the vendor, the final decision on the training material. That's right. So again, this will vary. The answer will vary. This is just to give you an example, right? Just want to give you a feel for how the difference between impediment, blockers, and obstacles are, because it's easy for us to look at risk and issues because we have a very clear definition, and although we have a definition for blockers and impediments and obstacles as well, but it can get very confusing. So I would ask you to read the definitions definitely as well. It's in the chapter on page 221. 221. Okay. The second question: a project team member brings impediment to light. How can the effort to overcome these impediment be tracked or monitored? Okay. So again, the answer will vary. How do you? So we said this is an agile environment. How do you track impediments and blockers or whatever in agile?
Daily Scrum.
Yeah. But how would you? Yeah. So what do you do? So you can have a Kanban board or a Scrum board or a task board, anything, right? So anything as long as it's a visual thing, right? Okay. Number 3, monitor impediments may interfere with or slow down day-to-day progress. Which tool or practice can be used to bring attention to these impediments on a regular basis? Annual conferences, daily stand-up, Kanban board, lesson learned. First of all, give me the 2 wrong answers. What are the 2 clearly wrong answers in this?
Annual conferences.
Annual conferences, and what's the other one?
Lessons learned.
Lesson learned. Agile environment. Nobody's going to look into the lesson learned at the moment. Okay. So the other 2 left are Kanban board and daily stand-ups, right? So minor impediments may interfere with or slow down day-to-day progress. Which tool or practice can be used to bring attention to those impediments on a regular basis? What is a Kanban board? Come on, guys. Let me go to somebody who's okay, Stephanie, what is a Kanban board? Come on, tell me.
Like visualization of tasks that has been completed, in process, and will.
Yeah. So basically, 3 columns: doing, to do, doing, done. I'm looking at my new Kanban board. To do, doing, and done. Right. How often you update this Kanban board? Do you do update on a daily basis? Probably not. Yes and no. Right. But what is something that you do on a day-to-day basis? When you come to daily stand-up, there are 3 things you talk about: what I've done, what I'm doing, and what are some of the things that is causing me to delay or there are problems and impediments or blockers that I have today. So, or slow down day-to-day progress. The day-to-day progress is the daily stand-up. There's a very big hint there, right? You don't, yes, both day-to-day progress and Kanban. In fact, you use Kanban at times to do update on a day-to-day progress, but you probably don't update Kanban on a daily basis. You may have doing a task, on a 3 days or something, that if you're tracking all the project tasks, right? But on a daily scrum, you're updating every day on what's causing the problem for your current task. Make sense? Yes, no?
Yeah, well, I'm a bit struggle with tool and practice because again, in different question, that means different. But yeah, okay, daily stand-ups. That's what I choose anyway.
Day-to-day progress, right? Okay, guys, 7:45, almost 7:40. I'll see you guys 7:55 if you could come back. And then we're going to do access. So we go to topic B. We'll go back to topic B. Just want to go through that. Okay, I'll see you guys in 10 minutes.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, Juliet is missing. I think she's, and Richard hasn't been coming for a week now. I hope he's following on the lectures. Okay, is everybody back?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, back.
Okay, good, wonderful. So what we're going to do is, before we start the lecture, we have the poll of the day, which is 9th poll. So I'm going to launch polling, and I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to do these questions. Now, I will not tell you what chapters these questions are from now, right? So think about it, give it a go, and should be pretty straightforward. Let's take 10 minutes and then we'll do it. We'll discuss them. Okay. Can you guys all see the poll?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I'll leave it with you then. I'm gonna go on mute. Right, another minute or so. That's okay. So, let's stop the polling now in 10 seconds. You want to? You see, one person is left, so probably. Okay, good, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Stopping the poll and sharing the results. Okay, let's look at the first one. The primary purpose of identify stakeholder is to analyze their. Oh, hey, Miriam. So analyze the expectation of the project. So most of you got it right. That's right. So analyze the expectation of the project. That's what you do it. Okay. Second one, number 2, you're the project manager starting a new project, and many of the stakeholders identified in the chart are the senior executive of the current organization, as is the customer. Inevitably, these stakeholders will not agree on everything, and you should. Okay. What should you do? So what do you think, guys? Well, so most of you interview the stakeholders together to gain consensus on their expectation. When was the last time senior stakeholders sitting in the one room have agreed to something? You don't even use this technique. Oh, sorry, am I on recording? No, yeah. You don't even use this technique when you have, when you're trying to do Delphi technique. I don't know if you know about that. You don't want everybody in the same room, because then the human ego will come in the picture. People will never agree. So the number 2 is incorrect. You don't want to get them in the same room. Creating a risk register is not going to help you. It's not going to get you an agreement or anything, right? It's just it's a tool to list down the. Prioritize the stakeholders is the key. You want to prioritize who you're going to work with. You remember we talked about power influence group, who you're going to work with to make this happen. So who got that right, by the way?
I guess me.
Okay. Are you saying that you guessed it, or you thought about it?
No, I did that. Yeah.
Good. Well done. Okay. The next one, which of the following processes provide an input to the managed stakeholder engagement process? And I think that's basically knowing the process. Managed project knowledge is basically. So why is that? What is managed stakeholder engagement? When we say managed project knowledge, is basically, project knowledge includes lessons learned. So you need to, before you start going to stakeholder engagement process, you're going to look at your lessons learned. That's one way of looking at it. And that will give you, who are the stakeholders in previous project, and so on and so forth, and how did you engage with them. So the correct answer is manage project knowledge, number 2. Okay. Number 3. After several project status meeting, Emily, the project manager, discovered that the director of the marketing and the controller were not in agreement. What should she do first? So director of marketing and controller are not in agreement. What should she do first? Like classify stakeholders for their, what is that going to give her? Right? She wants the stakeholders to be on the same page. So monitor stakeholder relationship, adjust a strategy for dealing with them. Yes, but what is the first thing that she needs to do?
Build the relationship.
Sorry?
Build the relationship between them. I don't know.
Yeah, but how would you foster, right? They're not getting. So you need to seek help. You need to seek help to make sure that they all agree on the needs and expectation of the stakeholders. So number 2 is the correct answer. You need to seek help, expertise. You need to get SMEs. You need to escalate to get help to make sure these two come on the same page before you go any further. That's the first thing you do. If your stakeholders are not on the same page, you can't work with it.
Would you say that the hint here was the first sentence here after several project status meetings? So
Yeah.
it's just
After several, so that means she had already been trying for a long time.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They were trying, they weren't able to figure it out, so they need somebody to, give them a hand.
Yeah, that's right. So you need help. Remember, that's why the sponsors and others are there to help you out. Okay.
Can I ask a question here? So in case if it wouldn't have been like after several project status meetings, the first option would have been right, isn't it?
Well, yes, and yeah, you're basically trying to, if you're trying to develop a relationship, you want to classify stakeholders by their influence and interest and influence, power influence. Yeah, that would have been the starting point.
So that you can, so that you can probably make some intervention afterwards.
No. So you would probably, in that case, if the starting, this is just for the argument, right? If you find out that the director of marketing and the controller are not in agreement, that's if your first time you're coming, you first try to meet with them individually to understand, make sure the expectations are right, need and expectations are right. You want to understand why they're not getting along with it, right? That means they have a different agenda or they have a different understanding of the project deliverable, right? Okay, number 5, which of the following organizational process assets are most likely to affect the identify stakeholder process? This is again, you need to go through the chapter. So this is the number 3, templates for the stakeholder register and lesson learned. That's an outcome. So once you read the PMBOK, you will get this. As output of the managed stakeholder engagement process, all of the following may be updated except. Okay, what is that? Okay. As an output of managed stakeholder engagement process. So I understand you guys probably have not read. So, but you're updating. So let's get one incorrect thing. Well, what is an enterprise environmental factors? You remember, guys?
The external factors mostly.
External factors. So you can't update external factors, right? You won't be able to. So that person, you will update the issue. You may find issues. You may find new stakeholder. You may change the stakeholder influence. You may need to update your communication management plan. But you have no influence whatsoever on enterprise environmental factors, EEF. So the right answer is EEF. Okay. To assess how involved a stakeholder might be in a project, you should use which of the following tools? One. Number 3, stakeholder engagement style. What is salience model used for? We talked about it. It's the grouping of the stakeholder based on their interest. Is everybody with me? Okay. What should a project manager, why should a project manager spend time identifying and classifying stakeholders early in a project? To understand stakeholders' ability to influence the project. That's what you want to do. That's the right one. Number 2, to understand a stakeholder's ability to influence the project. Once you know that, you can have a approach to manage that stakeholder. You know, we talk about monitor, manage closely. Okay. Number 9, you're assigned as a new PM of a project that is 40% complete. You review the latest issues log and meeting minutes. You find 3 critical issues have not been resolved and appears to be the reason for stakeholder frustration. One of the first action you must take. Okay. So 6 of you said, review the outstanding issues with the stakeholders and discuss options for corrective actions. Who put that? Which one of you? Carlo, did you pick that as well?
Yes, I put the first one.
Okay, you want to explain me why did you do
that? Because I think that the first answer is more like suitable in a situation like this. For example, I would that's what I would do, for example. Don't know why.
Okay, so let's first look at it. I'm going to spend another minute and then we'll start. Remove the incorrect ones. So fourth one is incorrect, perform contingency reserve. We don't want to do it. That's right. The third one, increase the frequency of communication. Doesn't help. Incorrect. So the only thing is about 1 and 2. Most of you picked one because you're saying they're reviewing the outstanding issues with the stakeholder and discuss options for corrective action. That is the correct answer, because you don't go updating the communication management plan unless you have worked it out, understood what needs to be done. Okay, so the first one is correct. So well done. Excuse me. You do need to make sure that you have discussed with the stakeholders what their frustration is, what is causing the problem, and so on and so forth. And the last one is, which of the following are output of the monitor stakeholder engagement process? You probably don't, you read that. So the correct answer is work performance information and change requests. That's the correct answer. Excuse me. There, for 10, number 2. Okay.
Fahim, what is number 7? What is the correct answer?
Or what is number 7? To assess how a stakeholder engagement metrics, which is number 3.
All right. Thanks.
Ramas. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's start with lesson B, support project team performance. Okay, sorry, stop here as well. Got it. And out of the way, and let's talk about this. What are KPIs? Do you guys have KPIs at work?
Yes.
Yeah, KPIs, everybody familiar with it? Basically,
Yes.
Key performance indicator, that's how your performance is measured. So you're given it's not COVID, just so that you know. So you're given certain tasks, you have certain objectives against your project. That's what the KPIs are, right? KPIs can use, how many of you are familiar with the concept of SMART acronym? If you guys have applied for government job or public service, they normally use the SMART acronym, which is basically, and I keep forgetting what it is, by the way. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. Yeah. Very specific to it. You know, you should be able to measure them. You should have realistic, achievable targets, and they should be relevant to the work that you're doing. And you must have a time constraint around it. You know, they should be when those should be delivered. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's any much complicated science about it. But when you're looking at supporting your team, you as a project manager, you want to give them certain KPIs which are SMART, based on SMART concept, right? Team culture and empowerment. In project, the team is the most important thing, right? We all know they must be unified. Empowering a team makes the decision very quick, right? And remember, when we talk about empowering, the agile teams are very empowered teams. Do you remember that? You know, they're self-organizing, self-performing teams. Okay. Interfering with team is disruptive and reduces motivation. Let's take an example of this, right? When we say interfering with team is disruptive and reduces motivation. If the team is working on a task and they're self-organizing, cross-functional team, they're trying to do something, and you try to influence as a project manager their work environment, and you try to influence what they are trying to do, then it reduces. This can be very demotivating. Have you seen, you know, sometimes you're trying to do something and your manager comes in, okay, no, you don't know how to do it. I'm telling you how to do it. It's very demotivating and disruptive. So you don't do that. You need to be encouraging your team for collaboration and decision making. That's how the good teams work. The teams, we talked about it, team charter, you remember that? So the team charter defines, you know, what the vision of the team, what the objective of the team is, right? The team should be included in clarifying and prioritizing requirements. What does that mean? You don't go and build a requirement document on your own. You engage your team, right? You work with your team in splitting the requirements into the task, right? Now, I want you guys to focus on this. In agile environment, the backlog, the product backlog is managed by owner, is managed by product owner. In agile environment, product backlog is managed by product owner, but the sprint backlog is managed by the team. The sprint backlog, the prioritization of the sprint backlog is done by the cross-functional team because they know which item in the sprint backlog is the key for that particular sprint. So once you have assigned a backlog to the team for the sprint, the team then decides which item to prioritize. How do they do prioritization in the sprint backlog?
Sorry, can you just repeat what you just said? Yes, who's responsible for who?
No, Abdullah, golden words cannot be repeated, my friend.
But I need to write them down.
The product backlog is managed and owned by product owner. Okay, but once from the product backlog, the second version is you pick the features from the product backlog and assign to the for the sprint. So there's a sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is, once it is assigned to the sprint team, it is managed by the team. They prioritize the items in the sprint backlog because they own that now. So they know which feature, which user story will provide the maximum benefit, right? Right. That's why, right? And you always engage your team when you are estimating the work effort. Whether it's in agile or in waterfall environment, you have to engage. So as a project manager, you will probably not have enough information to know how much the design effort will take, how much effort a design work will take. The designer or the design team will be able to tell you. Okay. Pretty straightforward. We talked about it. The team structure in workplaces, right? The whole idea of the team structure, and you have to take into consideration. Before COVID, I'll be honest, before COVID, the focus of the team is co-location. That's the focus of the team. And I'm guessing that exam will still focus on that. I wouldn't be surprised if the new exams come with some COVID situations to test your understanding of the team environment. And team structure is very much influenced by the organization, diversity in the team. But also remember, the teams also have built their own culture. Every team has its own culture that is affected and impacted by the people making the team. Okay, a good communication and collaboration among the team makes the team perform very well. Okay, open communication. Okay, team building activities. I think we talked about it. Team building strategies and activities. I don't think so I need to spend time on it. I do want to talk about team performance assessment. It is always important to do team assessment. So there's an individual assessment and there's a team assessment. And what you do is, and it is done on a continual basis, right? On a regular basis, because you want to see whether the team members assigned to the team, they are performing to their highest potential. If not, what you can do as a project manager to help them, right? Assessment could be formal or informal, right? And it will improve. The idea is that it should improve the interaction between the team members. Now, when you do a team performance assessment, right, it will help reveal or surface the conflict and issues that team may be facing. Sometimes people stay quiet, people don't talk about it, but when you are going through the team assessment review segment, it helps to identify those issues. And you as a project manager is responsible for sorting it out for them. Okay. How do you assess the team performance? So what did I do when I start the session? I tried to ask you guys individually. Everybody was here. I was trying to get a team sense how you guys are getting feel for it, right? Before you guys joined, everybody joined in. There were a couple of the candidates who joined early. I was having a one-on-one conversation with them, right? Just to have a feel for it. And that's what it is, right? Regular one-on-one communication with the individual, and also ask as a team, what are you guys, how are you doing? And provide constructive criticism. So your job as a project manager is to provide constructive criticism. You don't say, yeah, but you have not done this. You say, okay, what is causing the problem? How can I help you manage this issue? Remember, your approach as a project manager is key how the team stays motivated and focused. The last one, remove underperforming team members or reassign their work to a new resource. This is a simple way of saying, guys, you as a project manager are accountable for the project delivery. If you're not gonna remove underperforming team member, it's gonna keep impacting your project delivery. So again, remember the video that we show about the person pushing the cart? The person who was the leader, had to get rid of the obstacle or the blocker in the project success because that person was creating a problem. Are you guys with me?
Yep.
Okay. Performance assessment task, comparing performance to goals, clarifying roles and responsibility, delivering positive as well negative feedback, discovering unknown and unresolved issues, creating and monitoring individual training plans, establishing future goals. Okay. Okay. Team development stages. Who is going to give me the first two development stages? Okay, let me go. Somebody who's sorry, Lakesh. Yeah, go for it.
Storming, forming, is it?
Sorry, what is it?
Storming and forming?
No, give me the sequence, my friend. Come
Oh,
on.
sorry. Wait, why did I say storming and forming? Sorry, I'm just in an autopilot.
Okay. So what's the sequence? What's the sequence?
What was it?
Okay, forming and storming. Okay.
Oh, forming and storming. Sorry.
Your autopilot is not working, my friend. Okay. What about you, Stephanie? Give me the next two.
Is that performing?
No, give me the sequence. Give me in the sequence. You have to give me in the sequence. The forming, storming. What's the third one?
Sorry, I passed for him.
Right. Well, Ramas, what do you think, Kate? Do you remember? Kate?
Yeah, I just said probably it didn't work. I said norming.
Norming. Okay, so forming, storming, norming. What's the fourth one? Mariam, do you want to give me that?
Performing.
Performing. And the last one, where's Mohammed Noor? Mr. Mohammed Noor, what's the last one?
Closing or depart or adjourning.
Yeah, adjourning. You don't say closing. Okay, but you can say that, doesn't matter. Yep. I don't think so. I need to explain these. Do I? Okay, good. Okay. Seems like my, okay. Okay. What are the effective teams? How do you build an effective team? Good communication, trust, no conflict, or if there is conflict, they manage the conflict among themselves and they are collaborative decision makers. Okay, that's it. Management by objectives, very important at times. You set up a clear goal, you set up clear objectives for the team, and they will be more productive and driven if they know what they are striving for, right? Objectives are collaboratively set by project manager and the team members. You don't do it in isolation. You don't set up as a project, set up the team goals and say, this is what I want you to deliver. No, you want to do it. Collaboratively with the team, right? Objectives should be challenging yet attainable. That's very key, and of course, based on practical, what you need. Objective setting can be conducted at the start of the project or phase and throughout the project cycle as an iteration planning session. So when you're in Agile, you're setting up your objectives for every sprint or every iteration. Yes, no, good, bad. Okay. Feedback, we talk about feedback. Feedback is important, is essential for agility. Regular feedback is crucial for all teams in all methodologies and team environment. Discovering the most appropriate and timely feedback is project manager's responsibility. This is very important from example. Discovering the most appropriate and timely feedback is the project manager's responsibility. Normally, at the end of the training, you would give an opportunity to give the feedback on the training and on the trainer and instructor in the course material, right? But that also means if you do it at the end, then I don't have an opportunity to, excuse me, adjust or change my strategy to help you learn more. That's why I asked you during the training as well. Tell me, how is it working? So as a project manager, you should be asking your team on a regular basis, on a timely feedback. You don't wait till the end of the project. Yes, you do it at the end of the project as well, but you need to do it on a regular basis as well. Okay. Performance tracking tools. Okay. What are some of the performance tracking tools? In Scrum, Agile, we use called Kanban board or Agile board. I think we talked about it. You know, it's basically doing, to do, doing, done. There's a throughput metrics, which is the measurement of a team's work that has that they have done from one stage to another. So, you know, how much effort, how much work has been done by a team, you know, in one iteration, there's an example in Agile, or in one phase, so you will see, you know, what's the throughput of that team. Then you also have a cycle time. That's the measurement of work that has progressed all the way from plan to completed to deliver. You know, within the one cycle time, how much work you have done within one iteration or one cycle, right? So you can define that cycle, whatever suits you, whatever suits your requirement. These are some of the ways to quality metrics. You know, you may have defined certain quality objectives for your project and you want to track it against those. Earned value. Now, this is what we're going to talk about it today. It's the tracking cost and effort performance against planned value. So what is earned value? It's tracking cost and effort performance against the planned value. So we're going to check what is our variance against the baseline, cost baseline, schedule baseline. We're going to check those things. Bar chart, is everybody familiar with Gantt chart? MS project, right? That's basically use a project schedule to track performance over time. Please remember these from exam point of view. You should know what are these tools used for. And the velocity. Velocity is the measurement of total output from one iteration attempt to predict future iteration outputs. What does that mean and where is it used for? Agile velocity is an agile way of estimation and tracking time. So what they do is they look at how much output is in one iteration. In fact, they check it over a period of 2-3 iteration or sprints, and then average it out to see what the future sprints will be like. So basically, trying to see how much a team delivers in one sprint, right? And they monitor it for over 2-3 sprints, and then average it out and forecast. You know, in future, if the team has delivered 20 user stories in this sprint, and it's, you know, sprint 1 and then sprint 2 done 19 and sprint 3 23 or sprint 4 20, you know, they average it outside, you know, in the future. And this is one way of forecasting the effort that was required for the in the agile environment. Okay, you guys should know this chart by heart. You should learn the definition on this chart by heart, please. You will have to also find this on your page 210 of the manual.
Fahim, you've got velocity measurement on total output from an iteration attempt to predict. Okay, so that's in the Tuckman model. That would be a measure of the norming component, isn't it?
So that's yes, you can say that, but we can't. So Tuckman model is a team development stage. It's not team effort estimation model. It's a team development cycle. It's to show you when the teams are functioning, you can say that it's you know, you don't have a measure, say the team is going through you know, storming now or going norming now, or it's in the forming stage. You basically, it's a model hypothetical model based on the team characteristics, right? So when you get everybody together, that's you're forming the team, right? So velocity is basically, it is hard to put it in a team development cycle. It is a bit hard to put it there. The team that are performing would also be, there would be a velocity, some effort in there in that case as well. The team that is going through forming stage would be doing some work as well, right? So there would be a velocity associated with that as well. So we can't just say one stage. It's throughout the life cycle of the project, team development.
So the velocity can't be attached to, but I'm trying to figure out like
what the velocity is, right? Velocity is the basically
the momentum. Like if there was in performing, usually you talk about an iterative attempt in terms of momentum, where each cycle you're building some sort of rhythm, but velocity doesn't seem to target that performance, that metric.
So velocity is basically the effort or effort of a team in one iteration. It doesn't matter which stage they are in. Velocity is the team output in one iteration. So if if a team, let's say in a sprint one, the team delivered 20 user stories, doesn't matter which team development stage they are going through, that's their velocity 20 user stories. In next sprint, if they deliver 20 user stories, that's what that is their velocity. If in the third sprint they do 35 user stories, that's their velocity, 35 user stories. This is basically effort, team's total output from in each iteration. That's what it is. It is not associated with the development cycle. But one can argue that if the teams are high performing team, they would deliver much better output than teams that are starting out or in the initial stages of the team development. There could be an argument, but I don't think so. That's the right way to put it in terms of the definition.
So generally speaking, when we're talking about performance tracking tools, we are talking within an iteration. There is no performance tracking tools that measure iteration against each other, the performance of iterations against each other. Is that right?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So velocity is within it's the iteration output, it's a singular, but we don't have any performance tracking tools. Am I wrong in saying that the performance tracking tools here are just for those singular outputs? They're not really designed for us to measure iterations against each other, where you've got, for example, iterations that are repeated or of the same. Does that make sense?
Well, no, that's not incorrect. So velocity. So let me. So what you do is the velocity is used to forecast the future effort required for the project as well, right? So if you have like 6 sprints, you can, based on this, helps you forecast your future work as well, right? So you can come up with on actual, what is the actual velocity of the sprint team for the first 3 sprints. Based on that, you can predict what will be the for next 4th sprint or 3rd sprint based on their actual velocity, right? But that does not mean that it is only predicting velocity, maybe just only for iteration, but like Scrum board, Kanban board, they are basically telling you, what are the tasks across the project, what are doing, not doing. Throughput metrics is also, right? From one stage to another, one phase, and that stage could be one phase. What did you do in fact? Depending on how what are you trying to track and measure? And quality metrics are measured throughout the life cycle of the project, right? So they all have a different flavor to it. Bar chart or Gantt chart is also done for entire project. Agile teams do not use bar chart. They use burn down or burn up charts. So they're just different aspects to measure performance tracking. They're not related, just focused on just one iteration or the fun project. They're just different tools that you can use for. Velocity is for iteration by iteration. That's what it is, if that's what the question, but not all of them though.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Okay. Value management. So everybody has read it. Everybody knows. I'm just going to skip it then. All right. Yes? Okay. Methodology that combines scope, schedule, and resource measurement to assess project performance and progress. So if the question comes about, what is earned value management is used for, it is used to measure project performance and progress, right? And what does that mean? So you measure your actual performance against the baseline. You've got a scope baseline, you've got a schedule baseline, you've got a cost baseline. You measure your earned value helps you identify the variance against the baseline. It helps you identify well advanced in time whether your project will be over budget, under budget, will you be behind schedule, ahead of the schedule. It helps you identify also, what will be your end cost of the project. And it helps you identify what is your total estimate to complete, right? So it is a very effective tool. Important to understand the monetary value of work contribution. That's what it is used for. Okay. So there are 3 definitions you need to think about. You need to know about. AC is the simplest. What is it? You guys read it, guys. What is this?
Actual cost.
Actual cost. That's the actual cost. Actual cost of the work done. Yeah. What is the actual cost of the work done? That's it. Planned value. The authorized budget assigned to scheduled work. What does it mean? The dollar assigned to the work that is scheduled, right? Planned value. So you have kept aside $2,000 to complete the wall. Okay, you guys understand? The authorized budget assigned to the scheduled work. Okay, and earned value is the work performed expressed in terms of the budget authorized for the work. This is important, right? The percent of work complete to date into budgeted cost. That's what the earned value is. The measure of work performed. Work performed, right? Planned PV, planned value, is the budget assigned to do the work. Budget assigned to do the planned work or scheduled work. And EV is the major work performed, is basically the work done, okay, in terms of the budget authorized for that work. So we'll do the exercise, you will understand. Actual cost is pretty straightforward. The actual cost incurred to do the work performed on the activity during a specific time period. Pretty straightforward. No dramas about it. No dramas here. Okay. Now let's look at this one. In this, look at the earned value. So earned value is the lower graph, right? This is what. So let's first look at what is the plan value. This is actual. This is what you have scheduled. So middle line. This is what you have scheduled. Can you guys see that? So that's your. Why is it not highlighting? That's your planned value. Okay, that's what you schedule. That's what you plan for. This is what you have ended up doing. Earned value is what you end up doing against your plan. So you wanted to be here 75%, but you end up doing only 50%. Are you guys with me? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. And actual cost is the cost of the work done. Simple as that. Okay. Now, if I ask you cost variance, if I want to calculate the cost variance, so the cost variance is what is the actual cost, what was the value of the work done minus the actual cost. Simple formula. Cost variance. Value of the work done minus actual cost. So the value of the work that you did was $200, but the actual cost to do that was what? $340 or something. So 200 minus 340, you get minus 140, right? What does it mean? Are you over budget, under budget? What is it?
Over.
You're over budget. So if you're negative, if the cost variance is negative, you are over budget. So some things that you guys need to remember immediately. If the cost variance is negative, you are over budget. Now look at the schedule variance. What is the formula for schedule variance? It's the amount of work done minus planned work. So EV minus PV. The amount of work done minus planned. So work done was 50%. It was planned to be done 75%. So EV minus PV, 200 minus 300, you have negative 100. What does it mean? This is schedule variance. So now you're looking at the schedule. Are you behind schedule, ahead of schedule, on schedule? What is it?
Behind schedule.
Behind schedule. Very straightforward. Right? And that's what earned value simply helps you do. It helps you identify with the calculation, where are you at particular instant in the project? Are you behind schedule, ahead of schedule? Are you over budget, under budget?
Fahim,
yep.
Are you able to share those graphs with us later?
Yeah, I can send you that. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Because I know this is something that I want. I'll send you guys that. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let me make a note of it. Spin graphs. Okay. Okay. Schedule variance. What is schedule variance? Simple formula. It's a variance to the schedule, right? We talked about it. It's a variance to the schedule. I talked it. A positive schedule variance indicates that the project is ahead of schedule. Simple as that. A negative means it is behind schedule. And if the schedule variance is 0, that means you are on the dot. So remember, SV. Okay. One thing I also want you to just make it easy. So if you look at the formula, CV cost, right? Cost. CV is cost variance. Cost means you are going to use actual cost. It is always EV minus EAC, or it is AC minus PV. Remember this thing. This is very easy to remember. When you're calculating the cost variance, EV will always come first. Earned value will always come first. And the second quantity will come later. So if you're measuring cost, EV minus AC. If you're measuring schedule variance, EV earned value minus cost variance. Okay. Okay. Schedule performance index is CPI. It's called CPI, which is EV divided by PV. Again, remember, schedule performance index. I'm trying to see if there is in your, yeah, the formulas are there. Okay, schedule performance index, SPI. If SPI is greater than 1, then the project is ahead of the schedule. If SPI is 1, project is on schedule. If SPI is less than 1, then the project is behind schedule. So if you have earned value information in front of you, the PV, EV, and AC, and somebody asks you what is the status of your project, you can immediately tell them whether you're behind schedule, ahead of schedule, on schedule, or you're behind cost, over budget, under budget, or on budget. Pretty straightforward. This is what it helps us to do. Similarly, the cost control, same concept. A positive CV indicates that you are under budget. Right? You haven't spent much money. A negative CV means that you have overspent. You have spent more than what you were budgeted for. And 0 CV means you are on the top. Okay. Cost performance index is again, similarly, another way of measuring. If your CPI is greater than 1, that means project is under budget. So remember, greater than 1, CPI greater than 1, you are under budget. Less than 1, you are over budget. And 1 means project is on budget. Okay. So what did we had over here? Schedule variance. SPI. So greater than 1 is always good. So remember from that point of view. Less than 1 is always bad. So in schedule case, greater than 1 means you're ahead of the schedule. Less than 1 means you are behind the schedule. In cost, you're talking about, greater than 1 means you are under budget, and less than 1 means you are over budget. Okay. Okay. just to help you in the exams, right? If you get a figure like that, earned value interpretation, there's a very easy way to interpret. If earned value in the graph is less than PV, that means your schedule will be less. Your schedule variance is negative and you're behind schedule. If your EV is less than AC, then you are over budget. So remember, EV is the key. EV is the key. If EV is less than PV, you're behind schedule. If EV is less than cost AC, you're over budget.
So in this case, that's the worst scenario. You're
Yeah,
behind schedule and over budget.
Yeah, that's a very good. What about the next one? What about the next one? This lower one. So over here, EV is ahead of AC cost.
So you're
Yes.
behind budget.
So EV is ahead of the cost. Yes, no. So EV is here, cost is here. That means EV is more than the cost. If EV is more than the cost, then you are under budget.
Yeah, under budget.
What about PV? Is EV ahead of the PV or behind PV?
EV is behind.
Behind? What else?
Ahead schedule.
No, I'm just saying, the question is in this figure, is EV ahead of PV or behind PV?
Ahead.
Okay, Mohammed Noor, you said ahead. Okay, Carlos said behind. What else? Anybody else?
Ahead.
Behind.
Behind? Okay, why do you say behind? The people, so Mariam, please explain me, what do you say behind? So remember, the cutoff line is this.
Sorry about it.
That's the cutoff line.
Too
Don't go.
late, Carlos. Too late now.
But that's what happens
Sorry,
in the
guys.
exam. This is what happens in the this is what happens in the exam. People make these mistakes. So this is the cutoff line, and Mariam, this is for you as well, and Carla. So at the cutoff line, Mohammed Noor was right. EV is ahead of PV.
Yes.
So it is ahead of the schedule and it is under budget.
Best scenario.
You understand, guys? This is very important how you interpret these graphs. Now, over here, I'm spending time on it so that you guys can, formulas, you guys can do it. We're going to do the exercise. It's easy. You guys can run the formula. It's easy. You can do it quickly. But you must understand what the concepts are. Okay? You must understand what the concepts are. Okay. Then we have EV. In this case, EV is ahead of PV, but below AC. It's a simple, right, graph, interpreting that. So that means EV, PV relationship for schedule. So EV is ahead of PV. That means the project is ahead of schedule, but under budget because AC is greater than EV. So it is ahead of schedule, but over budget. In this case, the last one, EV is ahead of AC, but below PV. So that means this project is under budget, but below schedule. Behind schedule, sorry. Under budget and behind schedule. Does it make sense, guys? Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can get it from Larson and Gary if you follow. This is the chart. I borrowed that chart from them.
This is the kind of like exercise that we have discussed previously. For example, that Lakesh mentioned that I would need like a couple of days to grasp that correctly.
But this exercise will help you. This is what I'm doing here because it's, listen, you can do formulas, right? Anybody, once you have the data in front of you, anybody can run the formula. No dramas. It's calculation. You calculate. You need to understand if you're getting something like that, how would you interpret it automatically quickly? Okay. So then you have estimated completion. That is the current project final cost of the projected final. What is estimated completion? What you think today, based on today's information, what would be the final cost of the project? That's what the estimate at completion is. What is your estimated completion today? So based on the analysis that I have, the project would cost this much at the end. Okay. So the formula is there. Then we have estimate to complete. Estimate to complete is, as of today, how much more money is needed to complete the project as of today. So estimate at completion is what is the project total cost of the project would be at the end based on the current analysis, and estimate to complete is how much more you need as of today to complete the project. You guys with me?
Can you repeat, please, your last sentence, Fahim? Because I'm taking notes.
EAC or estimate at completion. Estimate at completion. People do get confused with that. It is that what is the projected, what is the final cost of the project based on the current analysis? How much the total cost would be, project cost would be at the end based on final analysis, right? To current analysis, right? How much total project would cost? And estimate at complete, estimate to complete is how much more money you need as of today to complete the work. How much more money you need to complete the project. You guys with me?
Yes.
Okay. That's what the earned value is. So what I've done is I've inserted an earned value formula. I'll send you these 3-4 charts. I'll send you these. This is from PMBOK page 267, 6th edition. You'll find this over there. You must remember formulas. You must remember formulas. Now, one thing to highlight is look at the formula estimate at completion. Okay. There are 3 formulas for estimate and completion based on some of the variables. You need to know all those variables by heart. Go to PMBOK page 267, and when you may get one of these variables based on, and you may need to answer based on this, right? Like I said, normally in exam, they would come up with earned value questions, and that question will have getting the first question right would have an impact on next 5 or 6 questions, right? So it is extremely important that I will tell you, you will at least have 10, 12 question, around 8 to 12 question on somehow related with earned value.
So if you answered the wrong answer in the first,
all 10 wrong.
All 10 wrong. They don't say.
Well, probably the high chances that you're going to get. I'm not saying always. There could be something, but there's a big chance. There's a high probability you'll get all the rest wrong. But that's why it is. I can't stress enough. I want you guys to remember the formulas. Right now, PMI does give you before the start of the exam. They give you 10 minutes to write anything you want on a paper or something. They give you paper and pencil. I would highly recommend, and we're going to talk about it on the last day, that take that time to write all the formulas, put them in front of you. Because sometimes, yes, you know the formula, but if they are not in front of you, you make mistakes. So exam tip is write down all the formulas immediately as soon as you go into the exam room and they give you the paper and pencil to write anything. They normally give you 10-15 minutes to write before you start the exam.
Do you have
Fahim, what is the best way to memorize those formulas, for example?
Okay, I will tell you very simple. That's what I'm saying. Focus on EV. Remember, on this side, anything you're talking about, you notice EV comes first. EV comes first. EV comes first. Did you notice? PPI, CV is cost. So EV minus AC or EV divided by AC. SPI or SV. EV minus PV or EV divided by PV. I is index. Whenever you have index, that's a percentage, that's division. Whenever you have just SV, that's a subtraction. I'll explain you, guys. Let's do some exercise and I'll do it now. there's two things we can do. I know we are on time now. Either you guys can do 4.2 at home, and we can discuss first thing next week morning. I think we can manage that. They're pretty simple concepts now. Or you guys can take 5 minutes and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. My advice would be, now that I've given you information, I'll send you these graphs as well. Use those to answer the questions. And I can explain you. Or you want to do it now? I'm more than happy either way. Whatever you guys say, that I'm happy to spend time. You guys want to do it at home first? Go through because it would be good if you learn the formulas and then attempt activity 4-2. It's going to be a very good exercise for the exam. Yes, no?
Yeah, so we'll follow your instruction, I think.
I think that's better. It will help you guys as well, right? It will help you guys as well. And we have pretty simple concept left, right? So the homework for this is activity 4-2. And I would also like you guys to read about performance report, which is page 2015 to 2017, or 2019, basically. Just these are simple things. We've already discussed many times. I just want to make sure that you guys are familiar with it. So read from page 215 to 19 and do activity 4-2. Please. And that's about it for today. Questions, guys? I do want to have a picture with you guys, if that's okay. If that's okay with you guys, but how do you guys think? How do you guys think about what's going on? Are you guys comfortable? Any question? Too much information? Marisa saying, I want to go and sleep. Carlo is saying, give me a break, Fahim. Abdullah saying, yeah, I know everything. Try me. And I can't see the rest, so I don't know what these guys are thinking.
Well, I gotta say something. Whenever I see all of the faces together, somehow I feel more connected, and that's why I like turn on my screen on most of the time. It actually helps me concentrate a bit better because I know I'm being watched, so gets my concentration almost all the time because I'm.
I see that, San Diego, very clear, loud and clear. Lovely.
I 100% agree with this, Abdullah, because as a project team, when you are cohesively working, that's the way we are connecting, and that's I fully understand where you're coming from. But again, listen, it's everyone. Lakesh doesn't want us to see his face because he's doing something, he's eating something in the background. That's fine, and with Mariam and Kate as well, so that's perfectly all right. But it does make you feel connected, and it's in the project. That's why PMI has a lot of focus on face-to-face communication. That's what we can do at the moment. But
for some reason we had been seeing the ceiling for quite a long time, so.
But no, thank you very much, guys. Let me, before I take the recording, but thank you very much for all your efforts. Next week is the last week. I hope you guys have learned something, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.